All right, so really quickly, I want to go over two resources that are fantastic for this class and will help you to work with color a lot easier, but also to understand why you're using colors. Um, Everything that we do with color symbolizes something. It encourages our audience to do something. There's a lot of subliminal messaging based on color. So a great example of this is if you think of fast food or even like the frozen food aisle in a grocery store, think about the colors that you see. So most fast food restaurants are red, yellow, and orange. And a lot of the packaging that you see down like the frozen food section is all red, yellow, and orange. And the reason for that is that there's been scientific evidence that finds that when we see the color red, yellow, or orange, that we feel hungry, especially the color red. That's why McDonald's is red. That's why Burger King is red. I mean, you can list off all of the restaurants. The majority of them are red. Even Taco Bell, which has more blue involved, has those warmer colors as well within their design so that they keep you hungry and keep you wanting to eat because that is what they're selling. They're selling food. So we are going to go over that, like the psychology that goes behind color. But first, we're going to talk about this really nifty piece of software. Well, it's more of a website, but um, it's a useful tool. It's called Adobe Color. And what this allows us to do is this allows us to make up color schemes super easily and to also find new themes. Now, there's been a recent update, which is pretty cool, that now we can apparently have more colors on Adobe. Um, Colors, which is really nice. Apparently you can have upwards of 10 now. So you can add swatches, which is really, oh, you can actually have more than that. So that's a new thing. That was not something that was here before, but just be aware that now you can add swatches. So that's kind of cool if you have a really large color scheme you want to work with. And you can see that each of these has a circle up here. We are currently on custom, which means that you can change things around. Now, if we go to an analogous, you can see we still have the same amount of color swatches. We're actually going to remove these because this is kind of cluttered really quickly. But you can have, I normally tell students to stick between 5 and 6 colors. It gives you a wide array. They can be similar colors like the one we have here. So this is more of an analogous color scheme. You're going to stay on RGB. I know that we're using CMYK for all of our stuff, but you can convert these. So if we're in Illustrator and we've set our file up to be CMYK and we put in this hex code here, or we can click on this and it'll show you the amounts for the RGB. If you put in a hex code or the RGB numbers, it will convert it to CMYK automatically. The same goes for Photoshop and the same goes for InDesign. So you do not have to worry, and InDesign only does CMYK. Actually, I guess it does do RGB now because they do digital stuff. It used to only do CMYK. Now it will do RGB as well. So if your documents are set up to be CMYK, it will convert it to CMYK. If they're set up to be RGB, it will keep it in RGB, okay? So since all of our documents are going to be set up as CMYK, it will turn into CMYK, okay? So don't worry about that. So your color mode's RGB, and you can go through this. So you've got an analogous color scheme. We can go monochromatic. Analogous means that they're all in the same space, so all in the general area. So you can see that all of these are like yellows and reds and oranges, but they're all kind of the same tone as well. So like if I pull one of these out further, okay, I guess it doesn't lock them anymore. It used to lock these to where you couldn't do this, but you can see how they're all kind of in the same space. If we go to monochromatic, they're all going to be one color, so they're all going to be in the same space. If you click here, you can go lighter or you can go darker per swatch. So that's something now you can go black. I guess it goes black and white now. It used to do something a little different with that, but we've got a triad, so we're in the 3 corners. We've got complementary, so across from each other, split complementary. We have a square. And we talked about all of these in class when we talked about color theory. So you can see you've got lots of, you can just do shades of a color. Let's see here. You can see how you can have different shades depending on where they are. And you can see now that like if I change this one to white, if we pull it back out, we have that it's in the whiter set of colors, whereas this is the darker shades of colors. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this as to where you're going with it. But there's all kinds of stuff you can do here. And if we pull this tab up, or actually if I click on this, you'll see that all that extra information went away. So if we click here on the change colors, you can get all the information here. You can give it a label if you want. You get the hex code. You can change tints by clicking on the tint key. So if we click there, we can change what tint it is super easily and get the hex code for it. If you click on the hex code, it'll automatically copy it. So if I go down here and I press Command V, it'll paste in the same one. I can go over here and do it too so you can see. So all of that stuff's available to you. You can also save these. So if you want to change this to, like my logo, and then you could put tags on it if you want, and you click save, it will save it into your library. So if we go here, you will see that I have a couple different libraries. So if we go to my library, you can see all of the different swatches that I've saved for different projects over time, just because I liked them or I needed them for a project or so on. And I've got apparently a stock theme as well. So beyond this, where you can extract themes if you drop it in, or you can extract gradients, so there's a lot of different things here. There's also accessibility tools if you need to know how to do that, to make higher contrast, to make it so people can see things, and so on. So know that that is there as well. And I think this may be newer because I don't remember seeing this. There's also a colorblind safe option here, so that if you're trying to work with someone who has color blindness or create something that's more doable for them, this is an option as well. Then we have something up here called Explore and Trends. So they look very similar. I'm going to show you how one of them works, and we're going to go ahead and explore one. So this will give you just some general things that are here, but you can also go in here and say we're going to do a graphic design logo. We can just type that in, and it'll bring up all different color schemes. So you may want to be more specific than graphic design logo because that's kind of really wide open. But if we went to technology, type that in, you're going to see that the colors are a bit more. We've got a lot of blues, we've got a lot of greens. There's some red in here, but you can see it's kind of like it has a bit of more of a standard color scheme. Sometimes it has images that it's pulling colors from. And sometimes this is just a great way to see how different colors interact, what might be working. You can type in a singular color. So if you were planning on using brown as a color in your layout, this might be a really good place to find other colors that work well with brown. So you can see that each of them has a shade of brown in it and different colors that it feels goes with that color scheme. Sometimes it's images that they're pulling from, other times it's just general color schemes. So you can click on these, it'll give you the full colors, you can save them so you can add them to your library, you can download it as a JPEG. There's other options here. I don't normally do this, I just usually save it to my library, and then you can click on each of these and copy these if you need them. So this is a really great way to find color schemes that are helpful. You can do the same thing in trends. So if we go in here and we type in technology, it's going to have a similar output here. Sometimes this one is a little more helpful than the other one just because it shows more of what is more common currently. So just be aware, kind of like go back and forth, look in both places. That's kind of cool. Any of these can be added to your library as long as you have an Adobe account. It doesn't even have to be one with paid programs. You can just have an Adobe account. You can use this software. So it's fantastic. You can find different color schemes, use this, save things you like, even if you don't know if you're going to use them. Like there's a couple of these I've saved just because I find them interesting and they might be useful later. So do that. Use this as much as you can. It's a great tool that you have available to you that can really help you when you get stuck. I haven't used the lab much. This is for recoloring, but there's a way for us to recolor in Illustrator, so you don't really need to worry about this, and then your libraries are up here. And you can have multiple libraries, as you can see. I have a few. The next tool that we're going to talk about is colorpsychology.org. So what this great and wonderful website does is it talks to you about the psychology of color. So every color is listed up here, and there are variants on them. So basically what this does is that it tells us how black works. Or not black, but how colors work. Sorry, I was reading what it's talking about at the top. So it's talking about like a good rule of thumb for many Westerners is wear black to a funeral. Black in this context signifies solemnity. It's how we show that we're grieving and respecting those around us. Weddings, on the other hand, are known for white, but only for the bride, while the bride wears white to symbolize purity and uphold tradition. Wearing white as a guest is often seen as an attempt to pull attention away. So this is just kind of going over some basic rules for color and talking about, like depending on where you are, what culture you're looking at, and so on, they could be different. This goes through, has different sections, so the psychology of red, the psychology of green, so on. You can go through this part down here, or you can go up to the top. So we're going to look at red. We're just going to click on red, and this brings up an entire page all about red. So it'll tell you the history of the color red. Right here, it'll tell you that it represents passion, warmth, sexuality. It also represents danger, violence, and aggression. But it also has a lot, so it has good sides and it has bad sides in psychology. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this. So here we have love, power, passion, confidence, aggression, dominance, attraction, persuasion, performance, impulse control. That's partly why the red is used when we're eating, is because it makes us impulsive. And it makes us need to do. We also eat faster with red. So there's energy, risk taking. There's the one about appetite, attention, impulsivity, competitiveness. And then it also talks about personalities and how these colors can affect personalities and their positive and negative traits. And then how red is used in business and branding and random facts about the color red. And then it goes into popular shades of red and gives you some more information. It gives you some stuff in here about different colors and stuff. And there's sometimes comments. I don't really care about the comments personally, so just read up about how this is used. You can use it with all the different colors that are here. Knowing how color affects us psychologically helps us to not only understand how we are affected by what we see every single day and how it affects how we buy things and how we see things, but it also helps you to know how to advertise to others and how to get your message across, both by stating your message but by also using color to subliminally tell someone a message. So if I want you to eat what I'm making at Thanksgiving, putting it in a red dish might make it more appealing than if I put it in a green dish. Um, there are other parts of the psychology that goes into this, so you can also look at the shapes, how shapes affect psychology. So there are studies out there that if we eat off of a square plate, we'll eat less than if we eat off of a round plate because of how we see shapes and how we would put food on those different plates. And so there's all kinds of stuff out here about how different colors, shapes, how size, how everything affects how we see the world. And understanding even a little bit of it will help you to understand how you are being influenced in the world. And it's really important to know that, because if you do know how you're being influenced, you can change how you're influenced. So I know that when I go to restaurants that are red, I'm probably going to be hungrier, but I'm not actually that hungry. So I try to order less than what my brain is telling me I want, and usually I'm full. But because there's red everywhere, I tend to eat faster. I tend to do multiple things. But knowing that, I can slow myself down, I can eat less, and I can basically counteract that subliminal messaging that's being told to me. So, kind of learn these, understand them, and let them help you to design, but also let them help you to change how you're living your life and what you allow and don't allow to affect you.